How's it going, Giants fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo, and his pet Stegosaurus Tybosaurus Rex. That's a name in progress here, Tybosaurus Rex. Maybe we'll go with something with multiple Giants names infused with Mr. Sir Stegosaurus. But today we're going to discuss Darius Slayton. He came back yesterday from an excused absence of practice Tuesday, and suddenly he has a reworked contract. Reminiscent of Blake Martinez last week, excused absence, and suddenly he's cut. And then they kind of mutually parted ways, and the Giants now don't have a starting linebacker, so they're trying to figure that out. But Darius Slayton reduces some of his salary here. We're going to discuss that, how much the Giants currently have, what this means for Slayton and his chances of making an impact this year, and kind of why he decided to take that cap cut in our I guess, perspective. It definitely makes sense for both sides, in my opinion. Then we're going to discuss a little bit of injury update on Kayvon Thibodeaux and Azeez Ojulari, who are both working their way back, but definitely a little bit worried that they may not be available for week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. So we will discuss that as well. Before we dive into Darius Slayton and his salary cap cut, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, and let me tell you why, okay? I got a little story. So last night, did a 16-person fantasy draft, 16-man league, right? Okay, listen to this team. Tell me, does this sound like a 16? Because this sounds like a 12-man to me. Derek Carr at QB, Saquon, Tony Pollard, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Pat Freiermuth, and Cordarrelle Patterson at the flex. I think I'm winning that league, man. Let me know down below in the comment section. Like, out of a 16-man league?
It's a 16-man league. I mean, you're lucky as a 16-man league, it's not that bad. Definitely a lot of risks. I say Terry McLaurin and Saquon are definitely risks. Keenan Allen's pretty solid. Carr is good. Who's your tight end?
Pat Freiermuth and Mike Gesicki.
Okay. Well, Freiermuth, yeah, he could be good. It depends if Mitch Trubisky decides to have an arm this year. Yeah, we'll figure that out later. But
Cordarrelle Patterson at my flex though,
and Tony Pollard. He's not even starting though.
Tony Pollard will be starting. Come on, all of us Giants fans know that Zeke Elliott is a fraud.
He is a fraud.
Let's be real.
Tony Pollard's actually pretty good.
Fraud. I think so. All right. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about the New York Giants, okay? Let's hope that Saquon Barkley does stay healthy for my fantasy league, because if not, I have to do a very embarrassing challenge as the punishment of the league if I come in last place. So go Saquon, go the Giants. And let's talk about Darius Slayton. Let's talk about Kayvon Thibodeaux, Azeez Ojulari, not Stegatorio or whatever you call this guy.
Tybosaurus Rex.
There you go. Tybosaurus Rex, whatever. Listen, the Darius Slayton restructure, that is a huge win-win for both parties, okay? Darius Slayton was on his way to becoming a backup on the Browns or something, or on the Jets, like, one of those, or the Falcons. He was on his way to a terrible career trajectory. But the Giants might have saved him here. Freeing up that cap space is one thing, the $1.6 million that they saved with this move, that's super important. But I also think just having wide receiver depth that Daniel Jones is familiar with was a huge gain for the Giants, not being forced to trade off Darius Slayton for scraps, pennies on the dollar with like a conditional 7th-round pick. They just got to keep him, and they got to free up the cap space anyway. Now he's playing on the minimum. I really respect the move from Darius Slayton to say, hey, I'll take less money just to prove myself. Odds are one of these Giants receivers is going to miss some games at some point in the season. And now we have Darius Slayton who can step in. Like, we were assuming he wasn't going to be here, but he is going to be here. He can step in. He's got the chemistry with Daniel Jones. 2 years ago, we thought that he could maybe progress into a wide receiver 1. So there's definitely some talent there. There is some chemistry with Daniel Jones. I really like this move. I think it was a great one by the Giants. And of course, I'm excited to talk about these injury updates to Thibodeaux and Ojulari. Really hoping that they're back soon. But without further ado, Alex, take it away.
Well, Darius Slayton has seen his stats degrade really over the last 3 years. Went from 740 yards and 8 touchdowns as a rookie to 750 yards and I think 3 touchdowns as a sophomore. And then last year only had like 320 yards and 2 touchdowns in his 3rd season. So, his price tag increased, or his cap hit increased because of the escalators via his playing time and playing structure. So he played a lot and he had some production. And because he's a 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick, right? 6th-round pick. And fifth round pick because of that. Right. Okay. So 5th-round pick, 2019, because of the fact that he played so much, he gets a kind of price hike escalator. And the Giants, we're not going to pay him $2.5 million at the end of the day. And honestly, I understand why. He's really just a go route, speedster, can blow the top off a defense. That's exactly what you're kind of looking for when you need a guy like that. But at the end of the day, the Giants, I kind of get the sense that they're going to be more of a West Coast spread style offense. Well, they are going to be a spread, a spread coast type of offense. But in that regard, they kind of like more shifty receivers, better route runners like the Wan'Dale Robinsons, like the Sterling Shepards. They fit the mold a little bit more. I mean, you look at Buffalo, look at Kansas City, looking at like Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley when he was there, Isaiah McKenzie. These guys are smaller, shiftier, much better route runners and faster. Kenny Galladay doesn't really fit the scheme, I think, and they'll probably try to move on from him next year if they can. And then you kind of look at guys like Darius Slayton, you're like, he's not really a good route runner. He's really just a fast guy. So at least he kind of has like half of what they're looking for. But at the end of the day, his best opportunity to play, like legitimately play, was with the Giants. He took a $1.6 million cap reduction or salary reduction to stick with the Giants. So he's making like $970K where he was supposed to make $2.5 million K. I guess 2.5 million, not 2.5 million K. But, end of the day, like this is a guy who really wanted playing time. He could probably leverage this opportunity into a bigger contract next season if he actually like performs well and makes an impact. He's probably looking toward a long-term deal because if he gets cut right now, and he doesn't make that $2.5 million anyway, and he ends up on some, reserve role for whatever team, or ends up kind of fighting with the Falcons or whatever team needs receivers at the moment, his best chance of getting starting snaps is right here with the Giants. And taking this cap hit right now may be his opportunity to showcase better production and leverage that into a multi-year deal, maybe with another club who sees the value in him if he can improve his route running and showcase a little bit more security in the drop department. His drop rate was, I think, the highest it's ever been last year. I think like 6 or 7 drops, just really, really bad. And that's something that's always been a problem with him throughout his career. But I think it kind of mutually makes sense for both, the Giants and Darius Slayton, mainly because the Giants need more cap space. They had, I think, $5.5 million going into Wednesday. And then, reducing that salary hit for Darius Slayton gives them $1.6 million on top of that. So they have a little bit more room to work with now. But in Slayton's case, has an opportunity to actually earn like starting reps. And he has chemistry with Daniel Jones, and, he can leverage that into a multi-year deal. So I think it mutually makes sense for both, even though he takes a pretty substantial cap reduction this season. Anthony, what are your thoughts on Darius Slayton taking this I guess, salary cap reduction and kind of how it may benefit him in the long term if he wants to, get a multi-year deal down the road?
Yeah, I think, like I said, this is a great opportunity for him to resurrect his career. Had he not taken this deal, he probably ends up getting traded for pennies on the dollar, like I mentioned, and getting traded to a team that's just desperate to get anybody, doesn't have any familiarity with the scheme, has no familiarity with whichever quarterback he's being thrown to the team he's playing with, right? So I think just staying home, staying with the New York Giants, playing with Daniel Jones is what's going to benefit him. Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton have chemistry. That's what I said, and I really fully believe that. I think when you take a look at those two players and what they were able to do a couple seasons ago, I mean, Darius Slayton had a lot of touchdowns in his rookie year. Granted, a lot of them were go routes, but Daniel Jones was throwing a lot more go routes back then. And what do we think Daniel Jones is going to do more of this year? We think he's going to throw more go routes. I think Daniel Jones is going to sling the ball deep a little bit more. I also think, just taking a look at the health status of all these Giants, wide receivers, there's a really solid chance that Darius Slayton sees extended playing time, maybe even as a starter at some point this season. We've got a lot of injury-prone receivers. Kadarius Toney, love him to pieces. My favorite player on the Giants right now, minus Xavier McKinney. But the dude is always injured, right? Like even when he's healthy, he's slightly hampered by something. He's slightly injured even when he's out there on the field. Kenny Galladay is the same way. He's always hampered. He had a procedure this offseason that we just found out about. There's always something bothering him. Sterling Shepard seems like the same thing. He looks really healthy, looks really good in practice, by the way. I think Shep is in for a pretty solid upcoming season, but that's maybe just until he gets injured, right? Because he gets injured almost every single year. So again, looking at all of these guys and how injury prone they are, you can also make the same argument for Darius Slayton. He's gotten injured quite a few times. He's played through injury quite a few times, but at least, he's going to have less playing time, less of an opportunity to be injured. And so he's going to be the one that they're calling upon. And like I said, I really like having somebody that Daniel Jones has familiarity with to call upon. Just having a bunch of these guys like, Richie James Jr., how much chemistry does he really have with Richie James Jr., right? Not much. So Darius Slayton, though, has that chemistry, has familiarity with Daniel Jones, knows how he likes to throw his passes and where he likes it placed. So I think those two having that chemistry is the value of keeping him for the Giants. But the value for Darius Slayton is to play with a quarterback that he's familiar with so that he can, like you mentioned, resurrect his career and not get traded to somebody who doesn't know how to use him or a team with a really bad quarterback situation. I think it is very important for Darius Slayton to perform well in the limited opportunities that he's given this season and hopefully go ahead and resurrect his career and maybe get a second contract, probably not with the Giants, but with another team.
Yeah, there is value. I definitely think the chemistry one, it makes the most sense personally. Looks like Napoli just scored another goal if Anthony is very excited about it. There's some Champions League soccer on today for those soccer fans out there. Some really good games action. Napoli is kicking the shit out of Liverpool, apparently, based on it.
3-0
Who
right
just
now.
scored for them? Who just scored for
Giovanni
Napoli?
Simeone,
Okay.
Argentinian striker, just
Wow.
subbed in
Wow.
for Osimhen.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Well, good for
yeah.
Napoli. Definitely didn't go into that game expecting to win, but it seems like they're taking a pretty substantial lead. So that's good, pretty good stuff. But back to the Giants. Kayvon Thibodeaux, Aziz Ojulari. Let's talk about them. These guys are both dealing with individual stuff. Thibodeaux with that knee issue, after getting kind of chop blocked by Thaddeus Moss on the Browns, or rather the Bengals. He's already been cut, actually. And then Ojulari with the calf injury that he sustained. So those two guys, they kind of participated yesterday and today in individual drills, some hand stuff, not really doing much, in terms of practicing with the team and putting a lot of pressure on their lower bodies. But they are practicing individually. So at least that's a positive. They have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. I mean, 3 days of practice. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be ready for week one. If they aren't, you're looking at Jahid Ward, and you're looking at, who else do they have? Alisson Smith is on IR. Who else is even on this freaking roster that can play? O'Shane Ximenez. That's it. Jahid Ward and O'Shane Ximenez is our primary pass rushers. That's not good, my friends. Not good at all. But Thibodeaux and Ojulari, hopefully they can get ready for this season, or for week one at the very least, against the Titans, man. We need, Derrick Henry against Jahid Ward and O'Shane Ximenez. God bless whoever has him on their fantasy team. He's going to eat against this Giants defense in week one. What are your thoughts about Thibodeaux and Ojulari and the progress they're making right now?
I think that it's not enough progress. Like you said, there's only a few days until this game, and they don't look ready to go, in my opinion. And honestly, I think the Giants would be wise not to put them out on the field, because I don't want Kayvon Thibodeaux going out there too soon, and then you're just derailing his entire rookie season. I'd rather just sacrifice the first game of the season so he's ready for week 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Right? I don't need to see him go out there, re-injure himself, aggravate the injury progresses, gets even worse in week 1, and then he's maybe done for the season, or maybe done for half the season. That's not what I want to see happen. That it would be like a nightmare scenario for the Giants. For Kayvon Thibodeaux, it's super important that he just rests up and gets healthy. So personally, I know everybody is going to be like, no, he needs to play. I can't wait to see him play. I can't wait to see Kayvon Thibodeaux play. I really wish he was healthy enough to play, but I don't think he is, and I don't want to push him back too soon, because I'm thinking about the long term here, guys, and that's what everybody needs to do. Don't just bang the table and say, I need to see Kayvon right now, and get really excited and force the Giants' hand, and then they're going to go ahead and play him. What if he gets re-injured, man? You got to think about the long term. Same thing with Aziz Ojulari. I think Aziz Ojulari is in for a huge year 2 of his career. I think he can take a huge step forward playing alongside Kayvon Thibodeaux. I think they're going to play off of each other. When one's doubled, the other one is on a single team, can get a sack, vice versa, right? They can play off of each other in that way. I think that they're both in store for huge seasons because of that, because they're both super talented young edge rushers on each side. But listen, you're never going to see any of that come to fruition if the Giants push them out there too soon and get them even more injured than they already are. So for me personally, I'm good to just wait on Kayvon Thibodeaux's debut. I can wait till week 2, maybe even week 3 if I have to. Keep in mind, it's a 17-game season now. You got an extra game in there to make up for lost time. So with Kayvon Thibodeaux, I'm fine not seeing him on Sunday. It's going to hurt my heart just a little bit, but I'm going to know it's for the greater good, for the long term of his season. So Kayvon Thibodeaux, like you mentioned, I don't think he's really ready to play for Sunday. I wish he were, but I think we're going to have to wait a little longer to see his debut.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably the best case scenario in terms of just making sure he's 100% healthy. You don't want to trot this guy out and hope that he holds up, because, I'd rather have him for 16 games than have him for 1 game. I think they feel that way about him and Ojulari as well. But good God, this Giants defense, man. Week 1, we're talking about Jahid Ward, O'Shane Ximenez, Austin Calitro, and Tay Crowder and Micah McFadden playing as our primary outside and middle linebackers and inside linebackers. We are in for an interesting, even Thibodeaux Rex is like, what the hell's going on here, man? This is disastrous. I am definitely concerned in that sense, and I don't really know what to expect from this Giants team with all the weaknesses at multiple impact spots, but hopefully they can rise to the occasion. Hopefully good coaching supplements some of the deficiencies, and that's all we can hope for right now. And hopefully these guys can miraculously get healthy over the next couple of days and play and be 100%. That is what we're hoping, but don't want to rush these guys back too soon. It's a long season. 1 week isn't the make or break for for what the Giants are trying to achieve this year and make sure they're 100% healthy. But guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives on Darius Slayton, him being retained and taking that big pay cut. Definitely an interesting, strategy for the Giants and Slayton as well. And obviously Kayvon Thibodeaux and Ojulari. What are your expectations for them? What are your expectations for, Jaheed Ward and Ocean Exhibit is stepping up? It's definitely going to be difficult, but especially against Derrick Henry, for goodness sake. But we're holding out hope and hoping for the best of those two pass rushers to make an impact in 2022. But as always, my friends, hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday and fantastic rest of your week. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.